Well, y'all, thank you for coming. Well, we enter in the budget period, and South Carolina is booming, as you know. We are, I think, one of the fastest growing states. I think perhaps Georgia, I think, we're second best according to some of the magazines. And doing business, Georgia, I think, is ahead of us. We go back and forth, but it's all based on our people, as you've heard me say about 1,000 times. So the job of government is to open the doors to the people, to keep them healthy and keep them safe, and have places for them to get educated. And if we do that, then South Carolina will continue to prosper. So with those goals in mind, I have some of the high points of the budget that I've submitted. You remember Governor Campbell started doing this years ago, submitting an executive budget, and we've been doing it since then. So our economy is booming. Again, this year we have a budget surplus of $2.7 billion, and we have I can't remember what the whole budget is, 12, 14 billion, something like that, not counting the federal funds coming in. But that's a lot of money, and that's because we're doing our jobs well, and we're growing, and we're doing the right things. Since 2017, we've announced over $53.7 billion in new capital investment in our state, which is, I think, 26th in population and 40th in geographical size. So we're doing very well, and that investment has produced over 100,000 new jobs when they came in, not to mention those from other suppliers and others in the periphery of those large investments. According to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, South Carolina recorded the highest economic growth of any state in the nation for the first quarter of 2025. Again, for the third year, we're second best for doing business. In 2025, we announced over $8.9 billion in new capital investment and more than 7,300 new jobs, and that's in rural and urban South Carolina, which is good because there's some of the rural areas where one big investment can make an enormous difference. So there are many reasons why we're continuing to have success, and some of them are that our state government is in superior fiscal shape. We're conservative, we have good laws, and we are very business friendly. We know that our business is business in South Carolina, because without jobs, without funds, then we can't provide all the other services. The state's income tax rate is shrinking every year, but our population is continuing to grow. So investments in education, public safety, and workforce training are paying off. The things we've been doing for years are working, and the evidence is there in this fantastic, beautiful growth. We are leading the country in preserving and protecting our lands, natural resources, and cultural heritage for future generations. And our infrastructure and energy demands are being met with planning, foresight, and commitment. So we're being careful, we're looking ahead, and we're being smart. We know that our future prosperity requires that we not stick where we are, but that we are constantly looking for new ways to meet the new challenges and to prove our efforts in creating the right place for our people to live, work, and raise families. So some of the highlights, I'll go over them and then I'll answer your questions. With roads and bridges, there are almost $7 billion in active projects underway right now across the state. In 2017, when I arrived, there were $2.7 billion working out there. So 4 years worth of state budget appropriations have paid off. But we got a lot more work to do. Nationally and here in South Carolina, inflationary construction and labor cost increases threaten to cripple all of that. You may have seen the figures, how some of the estimates for building these roads have gone up about 50% in just a few years. So in this budget, I'm asking the General Assembly to direct $1.1 billion of this new surplus money to keep current and future construction projects moving and on schedule. and there are a lot of them out there. U-Haul says that South Carolina is the #1 destination for their moving trucks and vans. That means everybody wants to be here, it sounds like. But left unaddressed, our state may face future problems with water and sewer access, traffic congestion, road and bridge repair, demand for electric power generation, public safety, school overcrowding, and health care availability. So we've got to do some thinking. So I'm proposing that we have a thorough analysis to determine if our state's infrastructure and government services will be able to keep pace. Will be able to keep pace if the population continues to grow as it is. We know that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So we want to measure it as best we can to see how we need to react and what we can expect. My budget directs the Office of Revenue and Fiscal Affairs to hire the best and brightest experts they can find in the country to conduct a comprehensive analysis to measure the impacts of the 10 and 20-year projected population growth, industrial growth, other growth, water usage, all of those things on South Carolina's infrastructure and essential government services. We began some of this years ago with the Floodwater Commission, you'll remember years ago, to study the impact of water and flooding and weather and all of those things that have the impacts they have on our state. And also just last year, we produced a water plan, which again took a different look to see where the water was, where we're going to grow, how much we were going to need, what we were going to need it for, and all of those questions. This comprehensive plan will build on those and add additional details, guidance, and understanding to the best we can. But we're on a state that's moving fast, and we need to know what obstacles and what challenges and what opportunities are coming in the future. The rainy day fund, we maintain one, and this year I'm recommending that a total of $1.4 billion be set aside and placed in the rainy day fund. We've gone up over the years, and I'm asking that no less than 10% of the general fund revenues each year go to that rainy day fund. You never know when we're going to need money, and we certainly can't depend on the federal government to help us when we're in need at every time. Till a few years ago, South Carolina had the highest personal income tax rate in the Southeast and the 12th highest in the nation. But we're not there anymore. 5 years ago, I signed the largest income tax cut in state history, and as a result, South Carolina taxpayers have kept an additional $1.275 billion of their hard-earned money to spend as they wanted to. My executive budget continues to cut this income tax an additional $107.2 million by dropping the rate from 6% where it is now. You remember we started at 7 down to 5.9. But we don't need to stop at 5.9. We should continue to eliminate the personal income tax rate as much as we can, as fast as we can. And if we keep growing the way we're growing and growing in the right way, we'll be able to do that. I'm very, very proud of the fact that we've been able to raise teacher pay as much as we have. When I arrived in 2017, the minimum starting salary of a teacher in South Carolina in the public schools was $30,113. $30,113. I proposed that we begin raising it years ago up to at least $50,000 by 2026. Well, it's 2026 now, and we're almost there. Right now, the starting pay, minimum pay, is $48,500. I'm urging the legislature to go on and raise that to $50,500 a year as the minimum starting teacher pay. And that represents a 68% increase since 2017. And that also, we continue to exceed Georgia and North Carolina, our neighbors. And in addition, the average salary of a public school teacher in South Carolina has increased now to $64,050 a year and has exceeded the Southeast average every year since 2021. That's good news because we must We must educate these young people more on that right now. 4-year kindergarten. I believe that is the key to the future. Our program is growing. We started supporting it years ago, and we're growing, and we know that it works. We started in 2021, and we have increased the funding significantly since then. This may turn out to be the most important investment that we've made in early childhood education, and one of the most important that we're making in our state. Statistics show that a child educated, a child enrolled in state-funded 4K program or any 4K program, a child is taught early is better prepared to learn than a child that does not start that way. Today, 18,411 students are enrolled in the 4K program, which is a 30% increase since it was started. Currently, every public school district in the state, except one, is offering full-day 4K. Enrollment has grown at the private daycare and private school providers very much, those participating in the program. According to the Office of First Steps to School Readiness, which we call First Steps, there are 1,899 classroom slots available at these providers. So I propose that we open enrollment eligibility to children of households with an annual income that is at or below 300% instead of 185%, which is now the level, 300% of the federal poverty guidelines. As an example of how much that is, a family of 4 with a household income of $96,450 would be eligible. We think that that will fill those seats that are available right now. We know they're there. Now, as more develop in the other schools, we'll address those as well. Also, I think that we ought to have free breakfast for all these children in the public schools. Free breakfast for everyone. Recently, the state of Arkansas, which is smaller than we are, they have about 3 million people. We have over 5. But Arkansas began offering free breakfast to all public school students, regardless of the household income. I propose that we do the same thing. Research studies have documented that children who eat breakfast daily are better prepared to learn in the classroom. Eating breakfast, which I believe, and others as well believe, that breakfast is the most important meal of the day for a young person. Eating breakfast improves their cognitive performance, attention, memory, and behavior, thereby improving everything that happens in that classroom with their academic performance. We figure that'll cost about $8.7 million, provide about 4.1 million meals. As you know, we have 1,283 schools and about 750,000 students. So it's a big job, but I think it's a job whose time has come. School choice. This is the 5th grade through the 12th grade. This is something that we've worked on, as you know, been to court about it. The Education Scholarship Trust Fund provides scholarships to eligible low-income parents so they can choose the type of education best suits their child needs. Last year, the General Assembly increased the minimum number of scholarships required to be funded from 10,000 to a minimum of 15,000. They placed no cap on the number that could be funded above 15,000, and the demand for those scholarships in the 5th grade through 12th are growing. So I recommend that we expand the number of funded scholarships to 20,000, from a minimum of 15, take it on up to 20, and increase the scholarship award from $7,500 up to $7,634. That will cost about $61.4 million, and it will be well worth it. School resource officers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a real success story. I don't know of another state that can say that they have a school resource, a trained, certified, armed school resource officer, a certified law enforcement officer in every public school in the state. We have a few, about 100, where we don't have them actually there yet full time because we can't quite find enough in some of the areas of the state, but the money's there, it's been there, and is there right now. So it is time to go ahead and finish that up. But that has made a difference. There was a case in Chester where just recently I got a letter from the sheriff where someone was unhinged and was trying to go through the window to grab a child, and had it not been for the school resource officers right there, it would have been a horrible situation. Those kind of things happen. We don't know how many have been deterred, but we know they are being deterred. Let's see. I said 1,283 schools, but the money is there. Total funding is $56.2 million. That's some of the best money that we've spent. For the 7th consecutive year, we're freezing tuition. That's important. We have to, as I say, we have to educate these people, our young people. And the college tuition is getting so high that some can't go. So we're freezing that tuition, and as you know, we're also providing a lot of scholarships. One item that seems to recur is the building maintenance at our public schools, universities. The 12th edition of the State Facilities of Higher Education 2025, it was revealed that deferred capital renewal costs on higher education campuses had increased to more than $140 per gross square foot. That is expensive deferred maintenance on these buildings. Well, we can't provide all that money, and that's going up from every year. South Carolina, that's over 35 million total square feet, if you look at it that way. So what we're recommending is $81.7 billion in one-time funds for deferred maintenance and critical capital building projects on campuses for public colleges, and $40.3 million for the technical colleges. Now, those are a lot of students. That's about, I think we have over 80,000 students in the colleges and universities if you use those numbers. And I'm not sure about the technical college because some you have certificates, some you have regular students, but that includes, that's a lot of money to go to help those buildings. Financial aid and scholarships in colleges, we've got great coverage there. As you know, we have the education lottery that was started years ago with the Palmetto, Hope, and Life scholarships. That's for the public colleges. And then we have the tuition grants. It's been there that's the private colleges and so forth. But also we're continuing in this budget the need-based grants. It's the 6th year in a row, and I'm proposing $80 million in state lottery funds for the need-based grants so that every South Carolinian who qualifies for financial aid is measured by the Pell Grants has sufficient state money to go to any in-state public college, university, or technical college, of course, if they can get accepted. Students at private and independent and historically black colleges, as I mentioned, will receive $20 million that's the tuition grants program. Also, we have something new. It's called Meeting Street Scholarships. I'm recommending funding for a new need-based college scholarship, the Meeting Street Scholarships, using $15 million in one-time funds. Now, what is this? These funds will help leverage private donations to provide a $10,000 annual scholarship, college scholarship, for up to 4 years for academically prepared, that is, good students who are Pell Grant eligible, in-state students to attend an eligible state South Carolina college or university, private or public. Now, the ones that I say eligible college or university, that is one with a graduation rate of 50% or greater. These are for good students who don't have the money that we know will be able to succeed. In a study for higher ed, this is something that has been mentioned a number of times, and again, I'll bring it up. We have 33 public institutions of higher education in the state. The goal is to make sure that we're preparing to meet our state's future workforce needs, as I described a little while ago. The study will address the sustainability, accessibility, and affordability, as well as an assessment of the need of consolidation of existing physical space, programs, certificates, and degrees offered, duplications, all at our public colleges and universities, as compared to the projected workforce needs of our state in the future. And that workforce includes all kinds of work. Also, workforce scholarships in our technical colleges. Again, I've asked this before, the General Assembly has provided $95 million in lottery funds for the South Carolina Workforce Industry Needs Scholarship, SC WINS, which is administered through the technical college system. This is a very successful program. The businesses and industries that we talk with who are considering coming here, those who want to come here and hire our people and invest millions and billions of dollars love this, because they're for high demand jobs. And we will, in our technical college system, which is sophisticated, which is strong, which is highly versatile and able to move quickly, we can provide the kind of training and education that they need, from manufacturing, nursing, computer sciences, information technology, transportation, logistics, construction, and everything in between. We really do have a great system there, and we need to continue doing that. Now, we know we have illnesses, we know we have sicknesses. We try to do the best that we can. We have great people working on all of these issues, but one that we know we need to address is cancer. Cancer seems to be a threat to people all over the country, all over the state. The Medical University of South Carolina estimates that South Carolina's incidence of cancer rate for adults 18 and over will be 18% between 2023 and 2028. That's a lot of cancer. That's a lot of worry. And as you know, if you catch it quickly, it's better. And that will surpass the national growth rate of 12%. Over the next 15 years, cancer rates are projected to increase by 30%. So everyone, don't forget to have your checkups regularly. This executive budget recommends $115 million for the creation of a new National Cancer Institute, designated Comprehensive Cancer Hospital at MUSC. With this important designation, the Medical University of South Carolina will be able to deliver the best-in-class cancer care and cutting-edge clinical trials for all South Carolinians, including those in rural and underserved communities. It is difficult to go to the hospital. If you have to ride or fly a long way, most people won't make the trip as quickly. Health agency restructuring is another thing aimed at the health of our people. In the last 2 years, we've completed the most significant restructuring accountability effort begun 30 years ago, bringing direct gubernatorial accountability to the action of our largest healthcare service delivery agencies. Restructuring was necessary because comprehensive review and analysis by outside experts, you remember the study, concluded that we had the most fragmented, siloed, and lowest-ranked health and human service delivery system in the nation. We knew we were having some problems, but we didn't realize that we were doing as badly as they said we were. Nevertheless, there are many bright spots. We have many excellent services, but our people with physical disabilities, special needs, and mental health issues who are seeking assistance are often required to navigate through an incomprehensible maze of offices and people and questions, and just to be able to find help for one of their loved ones. So the first step of our effort came 2 years ago when the commission-run Department of Health and Environmental Control was dissolved and was statutorily reconstructed as 2 gubernatorial cabinet agencies, you recall, the Department of Public Health and the Department of Environmental Services. That's a great step forward. It was too big. That's going to work better. A year later, the commission-run Department of Mental Health and the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs were dissolved and reconstituted along with the Department of Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse Services into a new gubernatorial cabinet agency, the new Department of Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. Now what that means is there's no board, so there's direct gubernatorial control, accountability, and responsibility there. My executive budget recommends that almost $100 million be appropriated to these new cabinet agencies as they continue working to improve and modernize the access to health care delivery systems for South Carolina, all South Carolinians who depend on them. In the area of conservation and preservation, as I mentioned, we are leading the nation on that. We're thinking way ahead, and we must, because we have some of the most precious, beautiful lands, waters, trees, animals anywhere in the country. It's a wide variety. As you know, they migrate through here, going from north to south with the seasons, and we have a lot of farms. We have 4.6 million acres, I think, of farmland. We have about 3 million acres plus that are under some sort of protective easement. We have parks, national parks, state parks. We have counties and cities that have green spaces and walkways. And our people are very, very loving and appreciative of our natural and cultural heritage. Our landscapes, natural resources, farms, history, and culture are unsurpassed in the nation. In recent years, we've provided a lot of funds and taken a lot of time to purchase significant and endangered properties for preservation and conservation. Since 2017, we've preserved almost 229,000 acres of biologically, historically, environmentally significant lands, including the state's largest conservation easement in history, which last year permanently protected 62,000 acres in the PD region of our state. I want to note that all the health authorities say that one great thing to do to be healthy is to get out and walk in the woods, to appreciate nature, to go by the river, to go fishing. We want to be able to do that now, and we want to be able to do it 100 years from now. We also deployed floodwater mitigation projects such as flood reduction infrastructure, voluntary buyout homes in flood-prone areas, and have developed plans and studies to identify and understand flooding issues. I recommend that we continue these very successful efforts, and I'm directing $68 million to the Conservation Land Bank, Department of Natural Resources, Office of Resilience, and the Forestry Commission for the purposes of identifying and preserving culturally or environmentally significant or endangered properties, and for flooding mitigation efforts. The Office of Resilience has been doing that. I recommend that you go take a look at the office and see the homes that they've repaired or helped to reconstruct that have suffered from being in the wrong place with water. I'm recommending that the Conservation Land Bank receive $3 million for the purpose of awarding voluntary conservation easements to preserve agricultural farms and forested land for future generations. We have the farm program that allows that, and it is a marvelous program. I don't think it's in effect in many other places. And so far, we have preserved 1,650 acres because of that. We have a ways to go. In law enforcement, again, we must keep the people safe. A few years ago, I asked the Department of Administration with conducting a comprehensive analysis of law enforcement pay. Why? Because we were losing some of our best professionals when they could get better jobs in other places. They'd come get trained, work for a while, and then go someplace else for more money. So we provided some funds, and they're coming back. And each year since, law enforcement officers have received substantial pay raises, some as high as 52% in the last 3 years. But that's important because these men and women have experience. They know what they're doing. They're good. They're well trained. We have a state training academy. Most states don't have that. And we are proud of our law enforcement and couldn't do without them. So I'm asking for an additional $10.7 million this year for pay raises and to add to their ranks by hiring new agents and officers. Also, I'm asking for a tax credit. I'll renew my call, as before, to the General Assembly to provide a $2,000 state income tax credit for every active duty law enforcement officer, firefighter, first responder, and emergency medical technician employed by a public entity. This non-refundable tax credit will provide a total of $45 million in income tax relief for those who put their lives on the line each day to protect and serve the public. I don't think there's anything more important that we can do. We must keep and retain our officers, and this will help us do that. Also, I have a new program. It's a sheriff grant program. I'm recommending a $35 million equipment grant program for our state's 46 sheriffs, administered by the Department of Public Safety, which can handle such a thing if they attest to the future enrollment in a program known as the Excellence in Policing and Public Safety Program at the University of South Carolina School of Law. It is a marvelous program. For corrections, I'm asking for $58.89 million for pay raises, new staff hires, deferred maintenance, inflationary operating costs, and technology at our state's, 21 prisons. Also, for disaster relief, we know that sometimes FEMA is slow, sometimes FEMA does not cover some of the needs that we have. So I propose that the General Assembly create and fund the South Carolina Public Assistance Program to be administered by the South Carolina Emergency Management Division. This grant program allows local governments, public utilities, nonprofit, and charitable aid organizations to apply for disaster recovery funds that were either denied by the feds, the federal government, or did not meet the FEMA thresholds. This year, I'm recommending that we receive an appropriation of $20 million in one-time funds. So those are the highlights. That's certainly not all of it. There'll be a lot of work done on these and other proposals by different people. But I say again where we began, and that is our state is in good shape. We've got good people working. We've got good people at the county levels, at the state levels, in this building. And the main thing, I think that our population, the people of South Carolina understand that we are living in a wonderful place. It's sometimes it takes a little bit of travel to some other places to realize how wonderful this one is. But we have an extraordinary state with an extraordinary history. A lot of that will be discussed in the 250th year of the history of the country. And we will be reminded again, as most people have forgotten, that the Revolutionary War was won in South Carolina. After the bloodiest battle, the bloodiest defeat of the Revolutionary War in Camden, Lord Cornwallis was there. Then came the Hook's defeat at the Williamson Farm. That was a small encounter that gave hope. And then came the Battle of Kings Mountain, where Bannister Tarleton got stomped. And then came the Battle of Cowpens with Daniel Morgan, which convinced Cornwallis that it was over. The Southern campaign was in disrepair. It was not going to happen. And in 1782, 130 British warships took 12,000 British regulars and some loyalists out through the Charleston Harbor. It was quite a sight, and we'll be celebrating all of that. There's no place like this place. So with that, if anyone has any questions, I got the Lieutenant Governor here, and she'd be glad to answer them for you. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So on 4K full day, it's been 20 years since the
we should go universal. We will one day. I think it's just a matter of time because the the more information is available instantly these days, and you can get facts. And we have seen that it works. We've seen it, and we know from studies and experience all over the country, all over the world, that the more you help the younger children, the more you build them up to where they can learn, the better they'll be. So yes, I'm hoping it won't be long before 4K is universal.
Governor, in your budget, you outlined raises for law enforcement and corrections employees. There's no across-the-board raise for other state employees. Why not?
Well, those I don't favor across the board. It ought to be a decision of the various agency. That works better.
The General Assembly has gone in a different direction than you. Are you worried they're going to do the same thing with just doing an across-the-board raise?
Well, they don't do everything I ask them to do. You probably noticed that. No, they are. I think I hope that they will do the right thing.
Also, you proposed $36 million towards the state health plan to make sure no premium increases for those on the health plan. In years past, it's been around 88 or $100 million. Why is the number so much lower in your budget for that to cover those increases?
I'm sure there was a calculation. I can't explain it now, but be glad to find the answer for you.
Governor, you're putting enough money in for free school breakfast for all public school students. Obviously, this is your final budget, but do you favor a future governor putting in money for free school lunches as well, and what?
Yes.
Can you elaborate?
Yes. I think it's a good idea. We have, 60% of the students now are eligible for free lunch. I think the system would operate better if it were just universal. The cost is minimal compared to the positive impact.
Your office also indicated that you'll be asking the legislature to put money forward to ask the Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office to help conduct a comprehensive study looking at the next 10 to 20 years of South
Right.
Carolina, and how growth is impacting sectors. What do you hope that study accomplishes, and what are your biggest concerns about the surge in population growth that we're seeing today?
Well, if it's the beginning point, if you can't plan for things if you don't know what you're planning for, and the old saying, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. You need to know what your environment entails. So we are really growing, and we are a manufacturing giant. We have great natural resources. We have what the leaders around the world that come here to invest billions of dollars in our people say it mainly because of our people. So we have to know what to the extent we can forecast things, and they change so dramatically, so quickly. Look at with the advent of artificial intelligence and just the advent of these cell phones. You remember, I think it was 1950, when you go buy a card, a birthday card in the grocery store or drugstore today, and open it up and it says something. That's as much computer power as there was in the world in 1950. That's a lot more computer power, and with all the instant communication, wall to wall of everything you want to know and you don't want to know, we need to get a grip on what is coming to South Carolina. We know we're going to have a lot of investment. We also know that our health depends greatly on our conservation efforts to see that nature stays alive in South Carolina. But you can't go on a trip anywhere if you can't see where you're going. So we hope that this will show the possible flow of investment in different kinds of industries and different kinds of technologies. It will take into account the healthcare innovations that will be necessary for our people. We have a lot of sun here. They don't have sun in some other places. That might have something to do with the cancer rate. All those sort of factors need to be analyzed, and it'd be a comprehensive study. Now, we've done a lot. It took over a year, I think, to get that water plan done. But that's a big step forward. The Floodwater Commission taught us a lot, but that's just a couple of parts of a larger picture. We have a port. There are innovations going on in travel. Our tourism industry is booming. We've been the city of Charleston has been the #1 tourist destination in the world several years in a row. I don't know where they are now. They're always at the top. Greenville is becoming a great place. The smaller towns, Hartsville, Spartanburg, those places, and others, Sumter, are just turning into beautiful places. So I know we can expect a lot more tourism. I know we're going to have people wanting to come play golf. I know we're going to have people that want to get in the ocean. I can see all that, but I can't measure it, and I can't compare that to the flow and flux of industrial development, highly sophisticated brain power sort of things that we have at our universities. We got great universities. We got 3 level 1, I think that's what they call them, research universities. A lot of states don't have that, but we do. We got a lot of water. So we've got to do the best we can. It won't be perfect, but it will at least give us some idea as to what we may expect. And then 2 years later, it may all change.
Last week, the House Speaker indicated that many state agencies have lost federal funding after the federal government slashed budgets. Either they've lost federal funding recently or they will lose federal funding. The House Speaker indicated last week that it's really not up to the legislature to fill every single hole. It really called on South Carolinians that they have great concerns about it to call on their members of Congress to advocate. What is your message to state agencies who might be staring at millions and millions of dollars of holes in their state budget because of federal cuts?
I think Speaker Merle Smith is right.
Going back to free meals for a moment, the legislature in the past has been very reluctant to pass universal breakfast lunches. What would you say to those Republicans who call that welfare and say we shouldn't go there? Why is that important, and should they do lunches?
Well, we're trying to fill their minds. We ought to fill their bellies so they can fill their minds more easily.
On the funding related to the maternal mortality rates and child care for children, maternal mortality rates, is there anything that you can talk about in terms of legislation and in addition to, like, obviously it's a problem in the state, can you think of anything you want the legislature to focus on that issue other than this one thing?
I don't know if we have addressed that specifically in the budget. I mean, you're talking about child care, maternal care, early childhood.
The $5 million for maternal mortality rates, is that
I can't hear you.
the maternal mortality rates?
It's too high.
Yes. And there was $5 million allotted, I believe, to assess the situation. Is there anything else you were hoping to do in terms of that?
Well, if we assess it again, we'll get a better handle on it. But we know it's a problem. That's what we're talking about with all this healthcare reorganization.
Lieutenant Governor, you previewed the $5 million over the weekend.
I did.
What was the message you were trying to get out with that, about that $5 million?
So thank you. The $5 million was to go to help through Children's Trust through outcomes-based programs, in the home, nurse-mom partnership programs. You know, those kind of programs are evidence-based by having a nurse in conjunction with an at-risk mom. You know, the OBGYN actually puts those at-risk moms with the nurse partner, and they make, you know, I've sat down with moms at the table talking about the positive outcomes. You know, that nurse makes sure they don't miss doctor's appointments. That nurse makes sure they understand why it's important to take prenatal drugs. That nurse has used the WIN scholarship program that the governor and I have talked about during our administration together. Actually, I talked about a story, as Joe talked about, at South Carolina Citizens for Life, about meeting a mom whose nurse partner went so far to help her. She got her a WIN scholarship. That mom actually went to Greenville Technical College, got a degree in HR, changed her life. We broke the cycle of poverty. She has a beautiful baby girl, and now she has the ability to raise her. And that's why those programs are so important, because if moms take care of themselves in the beginning, you know, statistics will show that she'll have much healthier outcomes at the end. It's something that the governor and I have been very passionate about.
You talk about $1 billion for roads and bridges. Is that all one-time money? And do you see that being the best way to backfill the agency?
It's not enough, but I think that's all we can take out of this budget. That's one-time money. But I hope there'll be more one-time money in the next year, and the next year, and the next year.
That's the best way to backfill this agency. We should be more sustainable.
Whatever it does to backfill, to get these roads built, we have to take money from wherever we can.
Any more questions if y'all have them?
You mentioned you'd like to see state income tax done away. What would fill that gap?
Well, we have to see how it works. I think Florida has no income tax, but they have enormous property taxes. You have to have the money coming from somewhere. I'd like to go as low as we can, but in order to keep going lower, we have to keep prospering. We have to keep developing. We have to keep having more money being made in the state. That means more training, more healthy people doing good jobs, making good money so they can pay a reasonable low tax to support all these things.
Last question.
I wanted to go back to the roads question.
To the who?
So the roads question. I know that we proposed $1.1 billion, looking at backfill the agency. Obviously, the last time we made a big request on roads, the legislature did not nearly meet you where you wanted to be. So far, all we've heard is that there would be conversations about that amount. I guess what conversations have you had with leadership about that amount?
That's the amount we want. Put it on there.
Everybody good?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.